Hey everyone, and welcome back to World Radio. I'm your host Saschas, and I'm joined here today by Sascha Bailey. Sascha is the founder of Blockchain Arctic Chains and the creator of Bypay. Sascha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be on Raw Radio. It's about time. We've been on Raw for about a year now, I think. So it's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming. It's great to get a chance to talk with you as well. So I'd like to kick things off with you telling us a little bit more about your background and your upbringing, where you're coming from, so that sort of stuff, to get to know you better a little bit. So take it away when you're ready.
Sure. So I guess the best place to start is there's a story I always like to tell, and it's online. Is when I was about 11 years old, I went to Frieze Art Fair, and my dad had a booth there, and his booth was about taking photos of people who were important at the event. And I was really into drawing manga at the time. Funny, I'm in Japan now, but and I put my artworks up all around the fair, around his booth. I put it in a few booths. I probably shouldn't put it in, but I ended up selling, for an 11-year-old, I sold like $150 worth of artwork that day. And that to me, it was interesting because it was the moment that I realized that being an art dealer was this really interesting, fascinating kind of thing that you could do. I put the artwork up in booths that were completely unrelated to anything to do with anime, but people would stop and look just because it was on the wall. And that made me kind of realize that if you can present things in the right way and you can put them in the right context, then people will pay an amount of money for them and they suddenly become worth something. I mean, I figure the people who own those animes that I sold back then, if they still have them, would probably make some pretty premium NFTs by now. So I started getting into art because of that. I grew up in art. My father is a photographer, David Bailey, who's relatively famous within the industry. We're very close friends with Damien and kind of all of that sort of group. But I found growing up that I saw how the art world worked, and I saw that it was very exclusive. It was very it wasn't very welcoming to new people, and it was more about who you knew than how good your art was. And I figured that was a negative thing, and I wanted to, if anything, do everything I could to change that. So my background and upbringing, coming from that place, brought me into the idea of somehow helping artists who weren't part of that group into the art world and showing it to the buyers and kind of building something where they could have that advantage that the other people just had through networking. So originally I started out as an art curator when I was about 17, and I mark this officially at the time when I first ever got an artist a featured piece in a magazine, because I figured that's a good point to mark your first piece of professional work. And since then, I've done 24 shows, pop-ups at various galleries, some of them at the same gallery, some of them different galleries. And in the last 4 years, I guess this brings us to the next question, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we funded the BAE, and we started that as a way of essentially I was working with like 15 artists super closely and about 150 loosely. And I could only really help 15 artists to make a career. I figured if we expanded something into a digital space, then I could scale that up to thousands. So that was I'm again getting a little ahead, but that was kind of why I wanted to build the BAE. And the interest was breaking up what I saw as an incredibly centralized system that, again, wasn't about talent. It wasn't about what's the best artist or what is, the artist who puts the most thought into something. It's about the artist who knows the most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And very interesting story. I didn't know that you were into art from such a young age. And how did you get into crypto in the first place? I mean, what was the thing that appealed to you in crypto and you decided that you want to be involved with that?
So funnily enough, in 2009, someone actually tried to introduce me to Bitcoin. And I remember going to the website and thinking, oh, I've got to learn to code a little bit to make a wallet. This is far too complicated. Biggest mistake of my life. If anyone ever introduces you to something like that, just do it. And then I kept watching it, and around 2014, there was this talk by a guy called Chris from, it was at Couchbase, and he launched a platform called Monograph, which I believe was on Namecoin, which is quite obscure now. But he essentially launched the first ever crypto art platform in 2014. And that talk at Couchbase, he actually spoke about Ethereum being the future of crypto art and being where people are going to put it. And I found that fascinating. And ever since then, I was kind of thinking, well, how do I incorporate Bitcoin into my business? And my company, we actually started accepting Bitcoin in exchange for physical art way back in 2014, 2015. And then as time went on, and I spoke to multiple devs because I'm not a developer myself. I can read Python, I can't write it, which gives me an advantage in Solidity, but not many other things. And then since then, I was thinking about how we can introduce art into crypto, and not necessarily on a technical level, because on a technical level, it's a lot of things on a technical level are relatively simple, but the actual user flow and why people would buy it is complicated. So it wasn't until 2017, and I'm sure you hear this a lot, but with CryptoKitties, that I saw that there was actually a market where people would pay for this stuff and people would want to buy it. So immediately after CryptoKitties launched, we started developing our product. We went to Singapore. We very luckily got seed investment from someone who later lost faith in the company, but that doesn't matter. We had seed investment. We were ready to go. And then we started building the BAE from that point onwards.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And you founded BAE in 2018, where, you know, it was a time where NFTs were definitely not as popular as they were today. How was it back then to be an NFT platform? What did it look like in terms of audience, of artists that were making NFTs and listing on the platform? I'm curious to know.
I loved it. I mean, I have a screenshot saved from when BAE was the top NFT platform for a little while, with thanks to Tom Badley, who is the currency designer that people may or may not know in the group, but he is definitely one of the OG crypto artists. Mm-hmm. And I loved the freedom and the idea that we were all part of this new thing and we had no idea what it was going to be. And, you know, at the time it was discounting OpenSea, because OpenSea is like the OG of the OG. We were one of the only 4 or 5 platforms in existence. And it was just a kind of really interesting time where, you know, we were selling things for, you know, $10, $15, and that was exciting. You know, gas was 0.5 Gwei. And that was, yeah, it was a lot of people telling me I was crazy. But knowing that I was doing the right thing was the most important thing. And I at the same time as, you know, they were a huge struggle those years, and I think they probably were for every platform that was out then. They were, I think, some of the most exciting times in crypto art, because all of these things popped up. You know, 2018 was this massive experimental movement. Then early 2019, we saw the trash art movement happen. And then finally, we kind of got to, you know, 3D art and concept art kind of being big and prominent as they are now. But I think that being a part of that was amazing. Just to witness the birth of a new way of artists producing work was like incredible. Just to even say that, hey, I was a part of this new thing, this new way of doing stuff is amazing to be able to say that. And I'm grateful that for the investors who initially believed in us, and I'm also grateful that we managed to kind of do that. It was, it's humbling to say the least.
Yeah, I got in NFTs. I first came across them in 2019, so I vaguely remember those times. But yeah, it was great times indeed. And staying back there, what were some of the hardships that you had to face as an NFT platform? Was it convincing artists to mint and create and sell NFTs, or was it convincing people to buy them? What do you think was the most difficult, or any other hardship or setback that you had to face as a platform?
So I think both. I mean, I'm very public about this. I'm very strong on the opinion that collectors will follow artists. Artists shouldn't follow collectors. And it doesn't matter where your art is. It doesn't matter what platform you mint on. your collectors will find you and they will want to buy your artwork. And, maybe some of them will have a bias towards a blockchain, but I think anyone who has a bias towards a platform is not seeing the bigger picture. It shouldn't matter where the artist mints. It shouldn't matter who the artist is. That's how you generally value art. But the difficulties we faced back then was that after the initial investors who were very hot on it to begin with, but kind of after 6 to 8 months, kind of lost faith in the idea that crypto art would ever be a thing. Big mistake now. But losing that, I had to get rid of our office, fire all our staff, and become a solo director, customer support, curator, everything for maybe 2 years. And the biggest challenge was, I guess, keeping myself going and knowing that I was, not wording it in the wrong way, knowing that I was right about something, knowing that this was going to be huge, knowing that I've got to keep going and eventually something will happen and the dam will break and everyone will get involved with this. And then, 2020 to 2021, that's kind of what ended up happening.
Yeah, very, very inspiring. I mean, a lot of people see the successes in the space now, but they don't see the perseverance of people behind them in those years. So yeah, very inspiring.
I think people think that it happens overnight, but I always say it does happen overnight, but there's about 100, maybe 500 nights before that took it to happen overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And what are some of the things that you think platforms, NFT platforms specifically, could do better and could improve for the future, or any other things that the platforms could be doing to support artists or support the ecosystem in general?
Well, I'm not sure that platforms could be doing anything different, because I think every platform does their own thing. And I think it's interesting to have this variety. I think that buyers, the one thing that they should be doing different, and even when I do as myself as a buyer, is not be so platform focused, because long term, it's not going to be the platform that makes the money, it's going to be the artist that makes the money. So the example I'd give is, hey, if you had 2 galleries next to each other and one of them selling a Banksy for 200 grand and the other one selling the exact same Banksy for $2,000, and you know that it's real, why on earth would you go to the platform that's selling it for 200,000? So I think buyers need to think more long term, because they might make some short term gains on this kind of platform label thing that's happening. But I think that long term, the artist is what's going to make the money. I mean, you just have to look at Pranksy, Robness, Xcopy, all of these people. They all, Gary Cartledge as well, they all cross platforms, and their value is held in them inherently. It's not held in what platform they minted on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Where I was coming from with the question is that you have created Bypay with us, your social token. I was curious, what led you to create it in the first place, and what was the angle that you saw for blockchain art exchange and the social token, kind of working together?
So we always planned to have a token. The idea initially was the token was going to be a purely governance token, and we do actually have a token called BAE, but it's not one you'll find on Uniswap. You actually can't trade it. Only one address can trade it. And it was in our initial contract, and some artists who were on BAE V1 actually have this token in their wallet, and they'll never be able to get rid of it. So I've marked them forever. But that token was meant to just be purely for voting. But then we decided that it would be better to launch something that was tradable, that people could do whatever they wanted with, and have a similar system to what we had set up before, but with people who knew a little bit more Roll about how this sort of stuff should work. So as soon as I saw what Roll was doing, I wanted to be a part of it. I felt like it was amazing to form a partnership with you guys and create the token that we always wanted to, because in reality, the idea of BAEPAY was always a social token, doing it based on rewards, on social action, and also being a part of the community, and later now a DAO is, it's all social. And that's really what attracted me to Roll, is I just thought that your service was ideal for what we wanted.
Awesome. And right now, what's the utility of Bypay? What are some ways that people can earn Bypay, and then how they can use it or spend it?
So you can earn it in a few ways. You can earn it by providing liquidity on Uniswap. We do 20,000 BAEPAY per week, divided between the liquidity providers based on the percentage that they hold. We've just started, and this will actually be going out just after this call, is 10,000 to the holders. So if you hold 50 BAEPAY or more, you'll be introduced in our Discord to the DAO, and each month at a random time you'll be given a share of 10,000 BAEPAY depending on which level you have. 50 BAEPAY is 1,500, 500 is 3,500, and 5, did I get it right? Yeah, 5,000 plus is 5,000, divided kind of equally between. There's no percentage on that one. Mm-hmm. The other way that you can earn it is by minting on our platform. When you mint your first artwork, you actually get the ability to claim 50 BAEPAY. There are other awards, and you can see them all under blockchain myba.io/awards. And we add more of those over time. And then I guess the final way you can earn it is by buying it on Uniswap.
Amazing, amazing. And speaking of ways that one can earn BAEPAY, I'd love to do a quick airdrop of some BAEPAY to the people watching. So Sascha has provided us with some BAEPAY that everyone watching on YouTube, you'll have a QR code up on screen about here. So what you do, you just scan it with your phone and you'll be taken to a role page so you can claim it using your role account. And for everyone listening on Spotify or Apple, just head over to YouTube so you can claim it as well. Awesome. And speaking of social tokens in general, what are, do you think that social tokens have the capacity to empower creators and NFT platforms and really capture the value that they generate?
Yes. And I would like to see more platform focus, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Bay is the only platform focused one on Roll at the moment. But I would like to see more platforms using it as a kind of rewards token, using it as in the way that we do it, using it in this way to really kind of get your community involved, get people interested in what you're doing. And you can reward people for that. And the limitations, of 10 million tokens at 4 decimals, to some people this be gibberish, but to people who really are into crypto, that's an incredibly low distribution, which means that roll tokens are worth intrinsically a lot. And I think that people should get involved with using social tokens in all sorts of ways. I mean, just being able to reward your fan base in that kind of manner, I think is incredibly valuable. Like, so for instance, usually you sell to your fan base, let's take it away from a platform for a second. If you're a YouTuber, you're going to sell them merch. No one actually ever wants to wear that merch. Let's be real. There's very, very few YouTubers who sell merch that anyone wants to wear. But if you can sell them a token that supports you and they get something that's intrinsically valuable in return, I think that that's far more important and far more valuable than a t-shirt that you stick in your cupboard and literally never wear. And I think that social tokens can be expanded to platforms, to influencers. I'm as excited about social tokens as I was about crypto art back in 2018. I think that it's a new frontier, and I think it's going to be one of the next big kind of things. I think there's obviously multiple vectors that are going to be huge in the coming years in the NFT and the crypto space, but I think social tokens are one that's going to be a major player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree, although I might be a bit biased, but yeah, I think 2020 is a very interesting year for social tokens. And another thing that I think will do great is DAOs. And speaking of which, over the past month, we've been discussing and helping set up the Bypay DAO. And I'd love for you to go over that briefly and talk about what it is and how it will benefit the platform as well as the people participating. So yeah, if you want to kind of like explain the vision there.
Yeah, so we're, as far as I know, we're the only platform that's completely self-funded. Like I said, we had initial seed investors, but they lost interest. They decided very early on, before crypto even became a thing, that they didn't want to continue with it. Put us in a weird position, but that was fine. We got past it. So now we're completely self-funded. And I see a DAO and doing a DAO with BAEPAY as the perfect way to involve our community and to create a truly decentralized platform with truly decentralized ownership, you know, because I don't know everything. I know what I know about art, but there are people who know far more than me in crypto who are interested in getting involved with our DAO. And I think that having their voices heard and having them being able to vote is vital and it's important. And I think that, you know, I think in the future, a DAO will become part of almost every company's kind of way of operating. I think that the wisdom of the masses, when it's a, you know, a diverse enough group, it is far greater than any one individual can possibly make in a decision format. And I think that's where the power of a DAO comes, is giving you that insight into, hey, maybe I'm not right about this thing. Maybe these guys know more than me. Maybe these girls know more than me. And let's vote on this. Let's make a decision. Let's decide. And you also, with the right setup, with the way that Rolls helped us set up our Discord, you're able to have the people who care the most about the platform be rewarded the most for the platform.
Yeah, and that's the way to go as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing the BAEPAY DAO in action and seeing you voting on different things and acting in a decentralized way with your community. So yeah, that's really something I'm looking forward to. Awesome. And what can we expect from you, and BYPay in the future, apart from the DAO, obviously?
So I think our roadmap is pretty exciting. So Cryptokyo, which we've done 2 events from already, is going to be a big part of BAE going forward. It's like a, you know, it's a sub, I guess a sub brand that we own now, but we plan to touch all the wood in the room in the next couple of years, bring this to a kind of consensus level event in Asia, because with all the events that happened in Hong Kong, Art Basel decided not to continue doing an event there. So I think Singapore has quite clearly got the tech, but I think the arts and maybe even crypto could very easily come to Japan, because everyone sees Japan as this kind of amazing place that they want to visit. And I think giving them an excuse to, especially in the crypto space, would be hugely valuable. There's the market here. There's people who are fascinated by crypto. There's, you know, it's the 2nd highest GDP per capita, 3rd highest GDP in general in the world. And I think that it's a market that people are not necessarily paying enough attention to, because it's almost incredible how clear it's been for us in the last 6 months. I expected there to be a lot more resistance and a lot more kind of other companies here, but it's pretty much just us. So I would really, I'm really excited to be bringing the Japanese market to the Western market as well, and showing off some of the artists we have, like the gallery system that we just launched. It's only primary sales right now, but we will be launching secondary market fairly soon, and alongside secondary market, we'll also be launching the ability to add outside contracts. So fairly soon, the idea is you'll be able to come onto Bay and say, like, an artist, let's say Frankie Nitti, just sold one yesterday, and you go, all right, I really like his work, but, you know, I don't want to hunt around on Foundation, Known Origin, BAE, and all of that. I just want to come to one place. So we're going to bring in Foundation contracts, we're going to bring in Known Origin contracts, and we're going to be able to sell all of those on BAE, and you'll be able to find your favorite artist with all of his artwork from every platform in one place.
Awesome, amazing.
And also lower fees than the other people charge, but while still respecting the artist's royalty fees, because that's incredibly important to us.
Awesome. And where could one find out more about you, BAE, and the token, the DAO that you're building? What are some of the links that one could visit?
The best links for the information about the DAO is our Medium. That's where we post pretty much everything about that. And to find out about me, not to toot my own horn, but you can just Google Sascha Bailey. There's a lot of information. I've been around for a while. And BAE, the best place to find general information is our Twitter. We're very active on there. But our Medium is the best place to find, like, you know, the kind of crunch information, the stuff that people really want to know.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll have all these links in the description down below so anyone can check them out. Awesome. And to close things out on a more fun note and more relaxed note, I have a random question. There's no right or wrong answers, just pure fun. Yeah, do you want to hear it?
Go on.
Awesome. So if you were an artist, what would be the first thing that you'd draw or paint?
Oh, so I haven't answered this because I've been an artist. I had an artist account. I'm actually on quite a few different platforms. But I would draw sexy robots because that's what I draw. I was, for those who had been in the space for a long time. In fact, some artists actually bought my work I was the artist called Huxley, who drew robots that are kind of very, very bad versions of I always butcher his name, but he is my favorite artist of all time. Samayaya, the Japanese artist who's known for doing airbrush, kind of no other word for it, sexy robots. And you know, to me, he's up there with H.R. Geiger, and then that's the sort of art that I absolutely love. So that's what I would do, and that's what I did. But if you're an artist getting into NFTs and you're starting out, I would do whatever you feel is going to work. Don't worry about the trends. Don't worry about what's going to be, you know, big, or, oh, this is selling right now, because then you'll never make the artwork. Just make the artwork. Follow an artist like, I mean, Robness gives a great example, and I'm going to, you know, I gush about him a lot, but I love Rob. And he gives a great example of an artist who never worried about what platform he was on, never worried about the artwork he was creating. He just created what he thought was cool and uploaded it and sold it, and you know, he's a multimillionaire now. So that's the way to think about your artwork, is just to go for it and do what you think is best. And if you like it, chances are someone else will like it too.
Yeah, great response and never greater advice. So thank you for that. So yeah, awesome, Sascha. It was a pleasure having you on Roll Radio and getting to chat and learn all these things about Bypay, yourself, and kind of like what the future holds. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the future and seeing the Bypay DAO in action. And thank you again for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic. And then yeah, I really appreciate it. Obviously, it's myBAE.io. Check it out. We're at Blockchain RTX on every single social media. And we also have a YouTube, which is criminally undersubscribed. So please do subscribe to that too. Blockchain Art Exchange.